morning. This is the regular meeting of the Southfield City Council for January 8th, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Council President Mandelbaum. First, Council President Mandelbaum.
Present.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Banks.
Present.
Councilman Charles Hicks.
Present.
Councilwoman Coretta Hogue.
Here.
Councilwoman Yolanda Haynes.
Present.
Councilman Dan Brightwell.
Here.
Council President Mandelbaum, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start off our meeting with our introduction of our newest councilwoman, Yolanda Haynes. At our December 18th council meeting, the council appointed Yolanda Haynes to serve the vacated term of Linnie Taylor, who went on to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. So she will fill the remainder of that term, which expires in November of 2025. And tonight we will have a ceremonial swearing in for the new councilwoman.
On your right hand, yes. And your left, oh, you got a, yeah. Yeah, you could. She wants her husband with her. I state your name.
Raise her right hand.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the City Charter of the City of Southfield, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Southfield City Council in and for the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, and State of Michigan. State your name.
Yolanda C. Haynes.
According to the best of your ability. Thank you. Attested to this day as we go back to December 19, 2023. Congratulations. Sign.
Did you want to take a picture with your family? That's fine, yeah. button right underneath. There you go.
It's on.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you. And there's a scripture that says, being confident in this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to its completion until the day of Jesus Christ. I am grateful and honored, and most importantly, humbled to be in this position. As Dr. King marched, he did not march alone. He walked with many people from different backgrounds, belief, cultures, and race. And I stand before you saying I do the same. I am grateful for the friends, the volunteers, my family, and those people that have supported me, those who did support me that even didn't know much about me. I am grateful for the businessmen and women in this community who stood up for me when many did not. I am grateful for the 6,000 plus voters that voted for me, and I am humbled by those that did not. I thank God for the privilege of being here. I will not take that lightly. I am here to serve the people as a public servant, serving those in the majority and in the minority, sometimes in the minority more than in the majority. My job here started a long time ago as that of a mother, wife, and homeschooler. I took everything that I've learned from my life to bring me to this point today. I will not always agree with everyone, and you may not always agree with me, but I will walk in love and respect with all of you, and I expect the same from all of you. I am grateful to those here on this council that voted for me in confidence, that supported me in my cause for being here. I'm thankful, too, for Myron Frazier, who is not here today, but who had a long talk with me and spoke with me, and he supported me all along the way. There are those that come in your life for a season, and there are those that are here for a long time, and I appreciate all of those. I'm asking you for your prayers and your support. Most importantly, that you respect us and we respect each other. There is no I in teamwork, but there is me at work with the rest of you all. And to my colleagues, I plan and pledge to support and work together, because what's most important is not us, but the people that we serve. We serve the people in this great city, and I'm sure and confident that we will continue to do it all together. I'm thankful for my friend, the mayor, who has always supported me, who has been with me even when I wasn't up here, and we've had some nice conversations where we respectfully disagreed. And that's the greatest thing, that we can do that. And I hope that we can continue to do that in this city, because the one thing that we do believe in all, that we can make this city a great place to live, for others to come, and we can leave a legacy for those that come behind us. Thank you so much. I think I'm going over 3 minutes, so I'm going to be done here. Thank you all.
We're definitely glad that you're up here and looking forward to working with you. All right. Next, moving on with our agenda, we are up to communications. The Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language towards any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. The council may not provide responses to public comments during the meeting. If you have provided your contact information when you signed up for public communications, the city will provide a more formal response to you in the near future. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Myron Thomas.
Hello, my name is Myron Thomas. I live in the city of Southfield. I've been here for
almost 20 years, but owned my own home for the last 13 years. I'm here to speak about the coding enforcement and also the building codes. First thing first, thank you, congratulations, thank you for serving. I'm a little nervous, so I'll just try to be as brief as I can. I had a tree hit my shed. That's the bottom line. There is ordinances that address that right now, meaning Section 523 says that nothing in this chapter shall prevent the restoration of a building destroyed by fire, explosion, act of God, blah, 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 blah. I can go on and on and on. However, I'm being required by code enforcement and the City of Southfield Building Department to go through the entire building code process to restore my building. As such, I've been ordered to remove all of the material that I purchased to restore this building, plus the construction equipment that I purchased to construct this building. Under the order of the judge, I have to remove all of this stuff off of my property. I don't think that was the intent of the ordinance, but I could be wrong. I was told that the only people that I could speak to about that is City Council. That's number one. Number two is the definition of outdoor storage and wood. I burn wood at my home. I have wood. I have a lot of trees. You can't see anything from the street. However, I was violated from behind my house, somebody driving on a service road. So I have wood that I've cut, I'm burning, and I have to get it all up 8 inches because of Chapter 17, 2.6 says that all wood has to be at least 8 inches off the ground. It's kind of impossible for a whole wooded lot to have all the wood taken up. Not only that, but I'm only allowed 2 face cords worth of wood on my property per the code enforcement, Chapter 17, 216. Not only that, but there is no definition of greenhouses in your ordinance. So I was told that for me to build a greenhouse, I'm required to have a 24-inch rat wall, 4 inches, with a concrete floor. Unfortunately, that doesn't bode well for digging into the ground and planting things. And not only that, but that has to be 10 feet away from my house. So these all are things that only the City Council can address. I've already been told that the building department cannot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carmen. Okay. We have Joanne Wright. Did you want to speak? No, I'm good. Is it Danielle with a G last name signed up? Oh. Okay. Loretha? Okay. Greg Keeler. Oh, 1 minute, Mr. Keeler. Can the control tower please reset the clock? Well, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you and Happy New would like to say thank you for the help I just received, and then even from some of the answers or questions that I have that council members and other people have come forward and helped me or talked to me about different things and everything else. I'd also like to say Happy New Year's, and it's nice to see you all in front of us as opposed to on the side and every place else. You spend a lot of time talking about the rules before coming and speak to you, but you don't spend any time about explaining what we should be coming here for when we're doing communications. I spoke to you once before about the peanut gallery, coming up here and then speaking, then have something to say to me. I have nothing to do with this meeting. I should not be in this meeting. I should not be part of it. If they want to come speak to me, I'm in the back. So I think for the functionally illiterate people, you need to explain what this meeting is for, as well as you are explaining the rules, so they know what it is for and what it's not for. It's not for coming up here making any type of personal attacks or anything else. If you want to, you can come back there with me. I'm right across from the police, and you can make your things that you want to have known. Other than that, I would like to say, thank you for everything that you did for the football team. Thank you for, hearing what I had to say. Thank you for even the special time you spent coming out and talking to me and letting me know that other things were also still in the plan. So that was just a great thing to hear that, the spirit of what I was saying was being heard and being heard loud and clear. And everybody was really on the same page with that. So with that, I say thank you and Happy New Year's again.
Thank you. All right, next we have Anthony P. Okay. Carmen? No? Okay. That, no worries. All right. That ends our communications. We have a change in our agenda. We have a presentation this evening by our state representatives, and I will ask them to come up. We have our state rep, Jason Hoskins and Samantha Steckloff.
Scoot on over here. All right. It's always good to come on back home and talk with my friends. Well, good evening, council, mayor, Madam Clerk, city administrator, and all of our amazing residents here in Southfield. I am State Representative Jason Hoskins. I'm here with my fellow colleague, one of the many people in our now Southfield delegation, Representative Samantha Steckloff. The other two members of our delegation, Representative Natalie Price and State Senator Jeremy Moss, they're actually doing a similar presentation in other places, in Birmingham and Pontiac to be specific. And so we want to make sure that we came and gave you a little update of all the things that we've been doing the past year in Lansing. Councilwoman Hogue reached out and said she wanted to hear a quick update, and I was like, I would love to give one, because we've been doing so many great things in the legislature this past year. I would say it's been by far our most productive session in decades. And so I'm going to kind of give a brief overview of many of the things that we've been working on, starting with, when we first started our term, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure that we were doing was putting people first and keeping that in mind in all the legislation that we were working on. In fact, the first things that we introduced were things that we were hoping would keep money in people's pockets, help Michigan's economy, help uplift Michigan's economy. The big things, of course, being repealing the retirement tax, as well as expanding the earned income tax credit, which is going to really help lift almost 700,000 children out of poverty here in the state. these are things that are going to help so many people in so many ways. Another thing that we worked on that also is going to help people's pocketbooks. We passed legislation in our budget that helps with giving kids free lunch and breakfast during school. And that helps tremendously if you are, trying to make ends meet. Those savings, that's hundreds of dollars in savings and groceries that you don't have to worry about for your kids during the school year. And those are things that we often think about when we're trying to think about putting people first here in the state. We also think about our workers. We repealed right to work, the first state in the country to do that in 60 years. Also, restore the prevailing wage here in Michigan. And when we were crafting our budget, we want to, again, we're trying to be people first. And with our budget, it was by far, we made substantial investments in our workforce, substantial investments in infrastructure and public safety and affordable housing. We actually funded, we created a fund for affordable housing. It was the first time we were able to do that. And it's actually been paying off tremendously around the state. Of course, that budget also, there was a number of things that we were able to get for Southfield. $4 million for some local road projects here, including North Park Drive and Rutland Drive, as well as $5 million for an affordable housing project here in the city. So we were able to do a lot of great things. And of course, we talk about all the great things that we were able to get. We also talk about how we really are trying to make sure people are safe, that people's rights are protected here in the state. We've certainly been doing a lot with that, like expanding the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to cover the LGBTQ community. We also want to make sure your rights are protected in the workplace. We passed the Crown Act, which deals with hair discrimination, but often felt by people of color. Also, we've expanded. We're trying to make sure that our justice system is continuing to work for everyone. For example, we passed legislation to allow for automatic expungements without an application. So it used to be, if you wanted to have your record expunged, you had to apply, you had to go to court, you had to go through a lot of process. Now, it is, if you have certain convictions, it doesn't cover everything, but if you have certain convictions, they are automatically expunged after a certain amount of time. And this is actually very important if you are trying to get housing, get a job. A lot of these things on people's records hold them back from being a part of our communities and really moving on with their lives. So this is something that we definitely wanted to make sure that we were focused on and making sure that our justice system was also working for everyone here in the state. I wish Senator Moss was here to talk about all the stuff he's been doing for voting rights. He chairs the Election and Ethics Committee, but we've done so many things to expand our right to vote here. And of course, it's 2024, but I still think of it as 2023 because we're doing so many things. But in 2022, we voted on Proposition 2, which had a number of things in it to expand our voting rights. And some of those things included 9 consecutive days of early voting, creating a permanent absentee ballot list, prepaid postage and signature matching, making sure that absentee voter drop boxes still stayed in place, increased the precinct size. We did a number of things to make sure that simple things like expanding online voter registration, allowing 16 to 17 to pre-register to vote. So once they turn 18, they will automatically be registered. Little things like that to make it easier for people to vote. We want to make sure that the process of voting is simple and easy and accessible for everyone. There's one more thing that I want to hit on before I pass it to Representative Steklov. Yeah, no, I'll just pass it on to her anyway. Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Representative Samantha Steklov. So nice to be back and to congratulate our newest council members. For those of you who may not know me, I actually hail from Farmington Hills. So with the new district lines, I'm so lucky to now have Northern Southfield in the 19th district. So I represent Farmington Hills, Southfield, Bloomfield, Beverly Hills, Bingham Farms, Franklin, and even a little bit of Birmingham. So as you can see, multiple jurisdictions, we're kind of all over the place. We actually, both of us have to head to Farmington Hills after this, but I, like many of you, love local government. I came from Farmington Hills City Council before I came into the state legislature and served 7 years there. And I currently am in my second term in the state legislature. I serve primarily on appropriations. All of my committees are appropriations committees, and I chair higher education and community colleges. Coming from Wayne State University, I was a manager of undergraduate admissions there, so it's really a love of mine. And I'm just so excited to be able to provide this year-end review. We've never had an opportunity to provide a year-end review where we've been able to accomplish so many incredible things. With the majority for the first time in 40 years, we were able to make significant changes and bring certain things to communities that haven't received it before. I know working with the city on all of the grant dollars we were able to bring in has been confusing because we've never had this opportunity before. So really excited for the millions and millions of dollars we brought back to the city of Southfield. And I'm going to go over some of the things that we were able to provide legislation-wise. As Representative Hoskins says, our Senator Jeremy Moss has been instrumental in the elections process, as well as things like transparency reforms. With last year's, I do say last year's election, with 22 election, there was also a proposal, Proposition 1, to make sure that your elected officials have transparency, specifically regarding what their financial aspects are. Proposal 1 was finally implemented the end of this year, requiring all elected officials within the state legislature as well as our executive branches to finally provide their financial statements. We've seen numerous times when things come to a vote, there's questionable votes being taken of people who might have a conflict of interest. So now for the first time, residents will finally be able to see how their elected officials receive their funding and maybe what they should and should not be voting on. So that was a huge reform for this year. And this is just the beginning of transparency laws. We're going to continue to make them better and better. We were 49 out of 50 when it comes to transparency of your elected officials. So really excited to be able to bring that to you. We were able to go over the budget, and I truly believe that the millions of dollars we put in for childhood free school breakfast and lunch, free breakfast and lunch in your schools is making a tremendous impact, and we're looking at making that a permanent thing. So stay tuned to this year for our budget announcements. Some of the great things, I am going to go over some of the things that we were able to do for women's rights. With Proposition 3 last year, we finally made we made and put it into law that a woman's body is a woman's body, and they have their own choice to make those decisions. With the implementation of Proposal 3, it was actually a lot of work. We had to repeal a few laws and put some in, but one of the biggest things we were able to do this year is making sure that there was something called a rider that women had to purchase in their insurances in case they needed an abortion. It's often referred to as rape insurance. We don't like that term because it shouldn't be up to the reasoning of why one might need something like this. So we're able to repeal that. There are still two things we're working on, the 24-hour wait time as well as Medicaid to cover a woman's right to choose. One of the biggest things and wonderful things that Representative Hoskins and I worked on this year, and I'm sorry if I get a little emotional talking about this, updates to parentage. I'm a cancer survivor. I was a breast cancer survivor. And because of that, I've been very vocal about my infertility issues. Because of chemotherapy, it's very difficult to have a child naturally. So my husband and I have been facing those challenges, as well as many people that have brought into an infertility type of situation. Whether it's a heterosexual couple or not, it doesn't really matter. Parentage is parentage, and everyone has the right to parentage. So right now, what happens is if a child is brought into this world under IVF or even surrogacy laws, the genetic makeup is not that of the parent. So what happens is, let's say you have a child through surrogacy, and the child is premature. What happens? Well, it's up to the surrogate to make those decisions. Whose health insurance does it go under? Who gets to make those decisions? What happens with probate law when we talk about inheritance issues? So we were able to compile all of that into a 9-bill package that passed out of the House and is moving to the Senate for the first time. It shouldn't matter how you're brought into this world. Every child deserves their parents, and every parent deserves to have the automatic parentage to their child to make changes. So we're really excited to make that change in the state of Michigan. We're the last ones to do that, and the medical advancements are incredible. The next thing I'm talking about, my personal legislation, is as a cancer survivor, 4071 was a project that I have been working on for years. So for over 15 years in the state of Michigan, we've been trying to get oral chemo charged the same way that IV chemo is. And for the first time in 15 years, we were able to get that signed into the law. So nobody will ever have to worry about getting the treatment they need because of cost, because of travel, or anything like that. And this is going to be a huge advancements in the state of Michigan. And again, this has been going on for 15 years. We're finally able to make that change. So those are some of the things that have been going on. And my personal priorities, I don't know if you want to go into some gun legislation reform that should be hitting in the next few days.
Sure, and I will just piggyback off that too. You know, we've been doing a lot in the healthcare space. One of the things that we did was we codified a lot of the things in the Affordable Care Act because we didn't want a situation where the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court comes in and, you know, makes changes to the Affordable Care Act, much like what we saw with Roe versus Wade. And so we wanted to make sure that we had things in place to protect people's health care here in the state. Also, we repealed our drug immunity law. We used to have here in Michigan one of the most stringent drug immunity laws here in the country. And so what that would do is if there was a class action, drug maker, pharmaceutical company, they make some mistakes, caused a lot of harm to people, and there was an award given to a certain class of people. If you were in Michigan, you could not collect, and that you could not be a part of that class, and you couldn't collect from them. And so we actually repealed that law. It's something that we have been trying to do for decades, and we were able to finally do it here in Michigan during our time. One of the many, many things that I've been proud to vote on here during my term, as well as something that's certainly very important to a lot of us, a number of the gun reforms that we voted on in the beginning of the year. As we were starting the year off, there were a number of things that we were all excited about, and gun reforms were absolutely one of them. But then the tragedy at Michigan State happened, and that really propelled our work forward on making common sense gun reforms here in the state. And we were able to get some things in place, passed, can't talk all of a sudden, safe storage gun laws. We were able to get through universal background checks, extreme risk protection orders, all these things that we think are going to be vital to protecting Michiganders here in the state, as well as a law that protects domestic violence survivors from gun violence. The person who is committing domestic violence, their guns will be temporarily taken now. We passed that law not too long ago. So many great things that we've been working on here in the state to really make sure people are being safe and protected here. I'm trying to think, I don't know if I want to do that one. So I'll just say, because there's so many other things that the list of things that we've been working on has been truly impressive, and we're not done yet. We still have so many things that we're going to be working on in the next year, stuff with paid family leave. We're working on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And I know that when I was here last time, there was a number of questions that came up on some of the things that we can do potentially for the city. I know something that has come up often that the mayor has brought up to me is dealing with group homes and what we can do for that. And so I want to give a quick update on that. So there's been legislation that has been introduced by one of our colleagues who represents Detroit, Representative Stephanie Young, and it addresses a number of issues that we certainly see with adult foster care homes. I know that we're going through a number of changes with that legislation. There's actually a work group that we put together, or that Representative Young put together, that I've just joined to make sure that the concerns that I've heard from the city are being addressed in that legislation. Hopefully, that's something that we can get through or this year. Again, I'm still in 2023. I was about to say next year. This year, before our term's up, because I know this is something that's very important to the city. And obviously, of course, it is something that is impacted or experienced by other communities in the state. So I'm so happy that we're able to hopefully move forward on this and get finally some clear regulations on group homes here in the state, making sure there are stronger penalties in place, making sure that the people who end up in these homes are taken care of like they should be. And that's certainly something that we heard from not only here in the city, but all over the state. In fact, how this even started, there was a 91-year-old who was in an adult foster care home, and she ended up dying. She went in, and a month later, she died. And the reasons she died is because of a lack of training. The facility itself was in disarray. A number of things that we could have prevented her death if there was many other things in place, better regulations in place. So that's something else that we are hopeful and looking forward to tackle. I know the other thing that I heard very often was making changes to Public Act 51. And I know that Representative Steckloff has a nice little update for you on that.
Don't worry, I won't go for 79 minutes, though I feel like I could on this topic with all of you. Act 51 is kind of like the bane of my existence as well. We started a work group about this about 3 years ago that I was heavily involved in. So what's going on next is we're continuing a new and separate work group to actually put in changes. So I'm working with the speaker on developing some of those ideas. This is going to be actually a main priority of myself and my office this year. For those of you who may not know, well, actually my chief of staff, legislative director, is an Oakland County Commissioner, Brendan Johnson, who chairs transportation. So we have an incredible pipeline between the county as well as the state, and we're going to make sure that those changes are actually made. I know I've spoken to you about the usage tax that we've been looking at. We were able to fund a program in the budget last year, so we're going to be waiting on those results and hopefully moving forward. So I'm going to have a lot of information for you in the next couple of months, but I understand.
And one last thing. So on Friday, we start the process for creating our budget. And so with that in mind, I just kind of want the city to start getting their thinking caps on and thinking about, are there any budget requests that we might be able to give or get for you? I will say that it certainly is not going to be, let's say, as generous as last year. A lot of that funding came from federal funds that we had, so we were able to do a lot of great things all over the state. And it was able to allow us to do a lot of great things in our districts. But with that being said, we still will be able to do some things. And so, certainly send those things my way, and Representative Steckloff's way, as well as Senator Moss and Representative Price. And we can certainly see how we can best advocate for those. And with that,
Good question.
yeah.
Councilwoman Hoag?
Well, I just wanted to thank you both for coming, and I'm sure we'll see you a couple times throughout the year. And just a couple things I can recall last year on the campaign trail that I heard was the group home, so I'm glad to hear that follow up. And not that I expect a response, but just if you could take that back and just kind of think of any relief we can get on auto insurance. That continues to be a problem for everyone. And can we fix the roads? I mean, you travel and you just see the same construction all the time, and it's like, when is it ever gonna get done? And better lighting on some of our roads, I'm gonna continue to say that since I've been here.
Yeah.
Specifically, and this may not be, but you, a telegraph from 8 Mile to 9 Mile is just dark. And so, and then maybe later, if we could get some updates on the redistricting, what's going on with that. I know I definitely don't have any answers to that right now, but then if any monies could come to us, we could use some funds on our recreation department. So we need a pool. So wherever you can help us on that direction, we certainly would welcome that. So, but again, thank you for coming. We
I love
appreciate
how
it.
you had them all listed out, like
Yeah.
ready to go. I love it. I love it. I'm glad you brought up the redistricting. That actually had a huge announcement as I was walking in. I didn't really read it, but it looked like, from what I could see on the top of my phone, is new districts have to be drawn by February, or by the end of February. But again, February 2nd. Oh, whoa. Yeah, so we'll be paying attention right along with you.
And that's just today's news. I mean, that was one of the orders that a federal judge here in Michigan came to. So there's that, but also that redistricting commission itself also filed some things last week. Those things might eventually go to the U.S. Supreme Court for them to make a decision. So that can change everything. But as of now, the current decision is maps have to be drawn by February 2nd by the redistricting commission, because then there needs to be a process so the public can have input on them. And I hope that's how it stays, but there was, one of the things that the plaintiffs in that case asked for was a special master to draw the lines, because they had some concerns about how the commission did it before. That one makes me a little nervous, but I would much rather have the commission draw it and have the input versus having one person that a judge picks doing it, I don't want to say behind closed doors, but so one of the things that the plaintiffs asked for was that special master. And last week when they were doing, when they had a hearing, there was a talk of like a two-track plan where one plan is the commission does draw some maps, and then the special master draws some maps. That was not in order today, so hopefully it's just the commission. It could impact, because of that, our districts aren't named as one of the ones that need to be, there were 13 House and Senate districts that were named that needed to be redrawn. Our districts were not one of them, but because of how they're changing, it's very hard to see how you change those districts, because they're all in the Metro Detroit area. I don't know how you change those districts without impacting ours. So we are paying a very, very close attention to the redistricting case. And we're going to continue to, serve. I can only control what I can control. And so that's like legislation on group homes and, working with Rep. Steckloff on Act 51 funding, which will get you more money for your local roads. That's part of the reason why we're doing it. We're also doing stuff on no-fault legislation right now to try to lower the rates. There's legislation that was passed out of the Senate. It's now in the House. The House Committee on Insurance is currently looking at that. We're hoping that there's something that happens with that this term as well.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I just want to say how good it is to see my two friends here. My former colleague in terms of Southfield City Council, Jason, and Jessica. It's, of course, you know, if I can call you Jess, I don't know, whichever. You know I mean it. It's all love. Nonetheless, so thank you just for being here. And I think Southfield should be thankful for the fact that you are two people that know this community. And so I know we're well represented. But Samantha, you said something that I just want to piggyback on real quick, and that was just about the childbearing laws and issues and so forth. And I'll just be upfront. I'm an adoptee, so I understand that big time. All right, so I hope we do everything we can to make sure anyone who wants to be a parent has that opportunity, because my experience has been wonderful all these years, still is, and I think that's a huge topic as far as I'm concerned. And but everything else you guys said already was on point. I think we're in good hands, and thank you all for taking the time.
I might be
to
reaching
here.
out to you, Councilmember Cruz. We are looking at some adoption reform as well. The state of Michigan is very interesting in the way we have adoption agencies. They're typically, not all of them, but a lot of them are through Catholic organizations. And because of that, in 2015, they were able to make laws and decisions on who can adopt based on religious beliefs. So someone, unfortunately, like me, cancer status makes it almost impossible to adopt, and then with my faith, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I am so glad to hear that, because I would love to speak with you further about this, because it is a huge, oh, my heart's so warm. It's a huge passion of mine, too.
Let me be a part of that. I'm a champion all the way around. So so we can talk. We
I'd
know
love
how to
to.
get in touch with each other.
I'll give you a call.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. And again, thank you both for being here today.
All right, Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, I want to echo my colleagues. Thank you for being here. And this serves a very valuable purpose. And I'm not sure whether or not, but can we make this routine, get a regular schedule, you guys coming in periodically, space it out just so we can stay on top of things? My big concern, I normally come at things from a finance and economy standpoint. A few years back, when I first got on council, I started learning about the state of Michigan, and I come out of corporate finance. Michigan was 50 out of 50 states in revenue sharing. So how are we improving on that status with respect to Michigan giving back to the communities relative to the other states in the United States?
That is a very good question. And I mean, and going back to Councilwoman Hoag's comments, when I was running, no one ever said, hey, what are you going to do about revenue sharing? But they did say, hey, how are you going to lower my taxes? How are you going to fix my roads? How are you going to make sure we have public safety, or they're taken care of? And I always had to tell them, well, I'm going to make sure we're getting our fair amount from the state, because we had to invest so heavily as a city into all those things. We shouldn't have been doing that, because the state should have been putting their fair share in. And so we actually passed legislation this year which creates something called a revenue sharing trust fund, which actually stops, the goal of it is to stop the state from taking money that should be given to our local communities and our counties, and protects it. And Right now, as we are going through the budget, a lot of times, the money that is entitled to us through revenue sharing, it sometimes gets moved around to other places, it's been filling the holes in a lot of priorities of the state. And we want to make sure that that funding is protected. So going forward, if it passed the House and it's in the Senate right now, and I don't imagine it not passing, but if that revenue sharing trust fund is created, it will protect the money that cities, local communities are entitled to. And hopefully, we will then, eventually cities will have the funding that they need to be able to take care of the priorities that they deem are important. So yes, we are trying to get away from that 50 out of 50, investment into local communities that Michigan has been plagued with this revenue sharing trust fund. And it's something that I think is really going to be able to take care of all those concerns.
That's substantial. And,
Doing the same for public safety as well.
okay,
So you don't
okay.
have to come out of
All right.
budget either.
No, so, and I will obviously follow up on this because this is, since I've been on council, that's the responsibility kind of put me in the finance area. Is there anything, that we can do to make sure this revenue sharing trust is constantly moving down the track to being approved? I know I talked to the city administrator, I know the mayor talked to you guys, so that's extremely important to us because we send a lot of money to Lansing, our taxpayers. We don't get anything back, so I just put it in plain English. So does it matter that the Southfield City Council or council members are calling you guys and you just tell them, they're bugging me to death, let's move this down the track?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say reach out to your state legislators, but one of your state legislators, Senator Moss, is a sponsor of that legislation. So I know he's going to make sure it gets through. But still, eventually that legislation will come up for a hearing, and certainly there are a number of cities that supported that. And so having the city of Southfield doing a letter or something like that, so that could be a part of the record as well, was certainly something very helpful. And when that legislation does eventually come up, we can let you all know, so we can, have that letter, we can put it on the record.
Okay.
And in this past year's budget, we also did an increase in revenue sharing. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was 4 or 5%. So I will keep an eye out for that. I serve on general government on the appropriation side that does revenue sharing. So I will definitely keep you updated.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, you're one of our legislators, so we will definitely, from my vantage point, because that is critical, and people just don't realize that we send a lot of money, our taxpayers, and send a lot of money to Lansing, but we get
Very little back.
We get very little back. So I forgot what it is on a state level, but how much money goes to Washington, how much we don't get back. The same thing,
Yep.
So, okay, sounds good.
All right, Councilman Hicks?
Well, I just want to humbly thank both of you as a newly elected council person. Receiving your personal notes, handwritten, it was touching. I truly appreciate that. I'm a person that appreciates handwritten notes over store-bought cards. So again, I thank you. During my time campaigning, as I talked to a lot of our Asian population, they were like, well, what are you going to do, or what is the state going to do to help us who are on fixed incomes pay less? So some of the things that you mentioned are bullets that I can give to them, but I'm interested in hearing more opportunity to help our Asian population. Because, as a senior in training, I'm gonna be there before you know it. So I appreciate any information you can share.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really all I have for today. We have so much information for you, so we're just going to have to start coming in. We're doing a lot of work with our seniors right now, making sure, especially with housing, if you're on a fixed income, there's no way you can afford these increases. I mean, the costs are completely unattainable. So we're working on that in any way possible. So that's why the EITC credit, while that doesn't fix seniors, it does with families. And then we were able to do the retirement tax for seniors. Lot more work is being done. And I know your committee is definitely working on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, so I chair the House Economic Development and Small Business Committee. And in my committee, there's a subcommittee on housing. And so senior housing is definitely something that we're focusing on, making sure that there's certain credits in place so you can make changes to your homes, make it more accessible, change your bathtub to make it more accessible, add ramps, add things to your home. We're working on that. That was actually legislation that Senator Moss and I worked on when I was working as a staffer. It's something that we're hoping to bring back this term as well, now that I'm a legislator. But I see a number of bills that come through dealing with housing for seniors and making it a lot easier for them. And there's other pieces of legislation too dealing with seniors that I have to go through. I know this is something we've been focusing on as well, and I'll try to get that to you.
Thank you both.
All right, Councilman Cruz?
Yeah, last thing I just wanted to add was to let you all know that I'm chairing the legislative committee here again. And I'm thankful for my president for leaving me there. And I'll be serving with Coretta Hogue and Yolanda Haynes. And so, we may call upon you at some point. You guys know how it works.
Yep.
So, because some things we just need to vet before we bring it here and everything. So I just wanted to let you guys know that part, and to let you all know that Councilman Hicks did not hand sign the card he sent to me. I had to mess with it. I'm sorry. But I know how he feels, though. Handwritten things do go a long way. Am I right, Mr. Hicks?
That's right.
Yes, sir. All right. But anyhow, that was the main thing I was just wanting to let you guys know. So you may be hearing from any three of us at some point for some issue.
And I'll make sure the new council members have my cell phone as well.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you for your update, particularly on the two issues that are very burning with me, Act 51 and the unfairness of that fund distribution for roads. But also, I am still interested in the per capita of group homes by population. And another issue that I know it's a problem, been surfacing in Detroit, but and I believe here, is the unlicensed group homes. Where, in effect, people are doing boarding houses, which is against, of course, our city ordinance, for more than 3 unrelated persons living in a dwelling. I don't know if you're aware of another project that impacts both Farmington Hills, Southfield, Oak Park, Ferndale, and Hazel Park, is our 9-mile Greenway program. We are taking advantage of TAP funds for pathways, and we have the complete support of the other 5 communities on this improvement project for 9-mile. So, of course, this is not something that's going to be done overnight. It's a multi-year effort, but we are moving ahead. We will obviously on tonight's agenda. We have the work on the 9-mile paving and pathway plan. So we're doing this as we can, but that's another thing that we're very interested in continuing to have state support on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. We always appreciate hearing updates from Lansing and how it can affect us here at the local level.
All right.
So you're always welcome.
All right. Thank you. And this will be more regular. So we'll hopefully try to do this more, quarterly or something like that.
I think we find we all have our feet wet
Yeah.
with the new district, so it should be a lot easier.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, next we have 2 sets of minutes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to move approval of the regular meeting minutes from December 4th and December 18th,
Support.
2023.
It has been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve our regular meeting minutes of December 4th and December 18th of 2023. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled for discussion?
Yes. Mr. Chair, in light of the national football, but I do want to pull item D, F, and G.
Any other items that need to be pulled? Yes.
I just have a comment on H.
Okay. Any other items? All right, so Councilman Brightwell, what are your questions?
On item D,
You said D?
D, Delta Golf Fox.
Yep, cold patch. Public Works? You can ask your question while I walk on them.
I'm just looking at this is a firm out of Battle Creek, and it indicate that in the notes, there's some type of BMP equivalent. So I'm assuming that, and I don't know anything about this, but I just want to make sure we're not getting inferior product. What is that BMFP?
It's just a type of delineator for that type of cold patch. So it's within the acceptable ranges. So it is what we requested, but it's an identifier for it.
So this is not inferior product?
Not at all.
Whenever I see the word equivalent, that make me think that this is, not the best, but it's kind of like a generic drug or something.
Right. It is accepted by MDOT as the equivalent, so
Okay,
it is a cold patch.
okay. The other just kind of question that pops up, this is in Battle Creek, and I don't know the logistics. Do you haul that much asphalt across that?
Normally, they would haul it to us and drop it off.
Excuse
They
me?
would haul it to us and drop it off.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Is that you set with item D? You're all set with that item?
Yeah, I'm fine with.
All right, so you said item F?
Yes,
The
item F.
demolition of 19337 Melrose?
Item F. This is, we have this goes back to my days of being on the Northland Committee for 4 years, and I chaired it for 2 years, and we selected the current builder during my chairmanship. So, but we have a vendor for asbestos. And I recall we just had a issue with, let's say, remediation with one of the vendors that we had. So this is do we have any history with this vendor doing this job, asbestos?
Yes, we have. We've used this company several times. The asbestos abatement is preceded by asbestos testing, so every time we require a test, we have to pay for that test. Rather than repeat the payment process over and over again with each person, we take the track record of the contractor who we have used in the past.
Okay, so, how, asbestos, every time I turn around, then not only here, but in my professional life, I've heard of issues with asbestos, let's say remediation, and we got a sole vendor, are we putting out, so you feel very comfortable with the performance and the efficacy and/or the professionalism of this company that we will accept as sole vendor for this remediation of asbestos?
Yes, I do feel comfortable because the company actually sends the samples out to a laboratory. A laboratory is actually the facility that does the actual work to detect whether their suspect asbestos is either positive or negative.
Okay, all right, well, and I always refer to the subject matter expert, and you are our subject matter expert with respect to this company, so you feel comfortable with it, I guess we could, I will go along with that.
Yes, I do, and there's also, during the course of normal business in any given year, all of these contractors are contacted at one point in time or another just to keep their records up to date, new work that they've been doing, areas they continue to do work in. So it's not like we put the contractors in our back pocket until the next time we need to use them. It doesn't work that way. So all their credentials are checked prior to their use.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you. And then you had a question on the additional leaking underground storage tank remediation.
Right.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening, John. John, this project, this seemed like something was going to. We purchased this in 1986, and we finally, as someone asked for a closure report, and the closure report come up and said we got all this underground stuff going on. Well, can you give me a brief history of, why would this, did we just sit on this and do nothing with it? What was going on?
Certainly, be more than happy. There's no real record as to why we decided to purchase a lot. What happened was we barricaded the street, first of all, at the residents' request, and eventually we vacated the street. So we closed the street. I suspect we then made that gas station no longer fiscally viable, and perhaps some sort of arrangement was made for us to purchase that property. We purchased it, turned it into a parking lot. Most of the tanks were removed, the fuel tanks were removed. What was left was a 550-gallon waste oil tank. We didn't know it. Apparently no environmental survey was done when we purchased it. Basically, that lot turned into a private lot for the two carpet stores on either end. As you can see in the picture, this is a Google Earth picture. The two trucks that belong to the carpet store to the right are there. There's 8 rolls of carpet laying in the parking lot. 1 roll is laid out in the alley. So although the parking lot counts as reserved parking for the Family Dollar, it was required by zoning, so 6 spots there do count for that Family Dollar. No one from Family Dollar has ever parked there, no customers, no employees. So eventually the owner of the property to the west, that would be the left, offered to buy the lot. They would tear down their building, which is an old building and probably would benefit from being torn down, and they would build a warehouse and store on that location. As part of the purchase process, which you approved in 2022 in December, the environmental study was done and the tank was found. The fortunate news is that when we all buy gasoline or diesel fuel, money goes into a fund to deal with underground storage tanks. So this is not costing us anything at all. The unfortunate thing is that once this happens, the state really runs everything. The one thing we did not want to do was give up control of that property until this tank was settled, because the responsibility for that tank remains with us. So our authority should be commensurate with that. So we have worked with PM Environmental. They have presented us estimates for the remediation, the removal of the tank, the study of how far the plume has gotten. Fortunately, it's waste oil. It didn't get that far. Now what they would like to do is prepare a closure report, which will involve some further sampling and a plan going forward, so how the land can be developed safely to prevent the spread and ensure the safety of everyone who uses the land. This is not guaranteed. The plume could be found to spread further. The state could reject our closure plan, But if this closure plan goes through, then we can go ahead with the sale, and the restrictions can be included in the deed, and that's the best way to protect us and everyone who uses the property. So far, there's no absolute guarantee that the leaking underground storage tank fund will cover this expense, but it has covered every expense so far except for $1 on one of the bills, and PM Environmental waived that.
Okay, all this is covered by the trust fund?
Yes, sir. This is all funded by the leaking underground storage tank fund.
Okay, all right, well, that, obviously, that's music to my ears. But just looking at it from, let's say a management standpoint, one of the biggest things I would always tell my people, I don't want any surprises, no surprises. Now, do we have anything else in this city that has a potential of being, environmentally hazard or something like this? Because sitting here since 1986, that seems to be kind of, it just blows my mind. It's been sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody asked for a closure report. Do we have anything else lingering in the city in this 26 square mile that would be embarrassing and a health hazard?
If I can, this isn't just, they're asking for a closure report because they've been working on this project for a number of years already. But I'll let John explain further. But
Good question, Councilman and Council President. You're correct. The closure report is actually a good thing for us because we're finally moving into the final stage of determining how this pollution can be dealt with.
All right.
And are there other leaking tanks underground that we don't know about? There may well be. It's a pretty extensive process to find these tanks. You use walking with ground radar. So I don't think it's something we're going to do just everywhere. We can't afford to do it everywhere. If we find further tanks, we will deal with them responsibly and legally, and hopefully they will also be funded under this fund.
Okay, well, that's music too. My point being is that we're not conscious of anything else in the city that potentially has this kind of stuff. We are conscious of whatever is, what our land and what's on that land. Nothing like this will just pop up.
No, sir, that's a great point, and we look for this sort of thing. There was nothing to indicate this was here.
Excuse me?
There was nothing to indicate this was here, but this is the sort of thing we think about. You're correct. It is a valid, serious question.
Okay, no, it goes back, it's a management too. No surprises, and that's, I think every boss in the world told his people no surprises. I don't want to see a year down the road something else popping up, but there's nothing. Okay, that's the extent of my. I'm satisfied.
thank you. All right, and Councilman Banks, you had a question or a comment on item H?
Yes, to my colleagues, I'd like to know if you would consider just changing a few of the words in the resolution to state that we are approving a new contract for our city administrator versus reappointing.
Contract renewal?
We're renewing a contract for our city administrator. I feel strongly we're not reappointing our city administrator. It's just changing the words. If no one has any objections.
Council, are there any objections to that?
Can we say that we're approving the contract? Our city administrator is the top CEO of the city. I think it sounds better if we are approving a contract. We are not reappointing the city administrator.
I had suggested that earlier today, that it's a contract renewal.
Yes.
And not an appointment or reappointment. Thank you for bringing that up.
So, everything else can remain the same. I think to the clerk, it's just going to be a matter of just changing a few words.
Yes, Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but is it legal? Whatever the lawyer says, it's still, Is it illegal? That's all.
Well, we're not reappointing anyone.
I'm-
We're approving a contract for the
As long as
city.
the
So I
lawyer-
think it was just maybe a mistake, the wrong words were used.
Right, okay, as long as the lawyer says okay, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you can ask the city attorney.
Yes, that's fine. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. He's having his contract renewed, as the mayor stated.
So do we need a motion to amend that resolution, or when we go through the consent agenda item, we can just mention that it's a contract renewal?
Or we can,
Mr. Chair.
A motion to amend the resolution?
Mr. Chair, is it appropriate that when we introduce the motion, that we accept the changes proposed by Councilwoman Banks?
Yeah. Can we, when the motion is made for the consent agenda items, to include wording that that includes the wording change that was proposed?
As long as there's a motion on the record saying that we're making this amendment to this particular item, so that the record will clearly reflect that that's what was done tonight.
Okay.
or just a suggestion that we approve consent items A through G, and then we'll have a separate resolution for H.
That's fine also.
Either one
Just
works.
as easy, yeah.
All right, Councilwoman
Mr.
Holt.
President?
Oh,
I was ready to approve, make a motion to approve.
well,
So was I.
if we were done.
all right, Councilwoman Hoag.
Let's
Thank
get
you.
ready.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A through H with the stated correction for consent agenda H, which is the contract renewal for City Administrator, Mr. Zorn.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilman Cruz, to approve consent agenda items A, which is the Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield Wagner Pizer Grant Acceptance. Item B, Oakland County, Michigan Works County Partnership Accountability Training Hope Grant Acceptance. Item C, Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Grant Acceptance. Item D, authorization to purchase cold patch for Street and Highways Division. Item E, to receive and file Public Act 202 of 217, Protecting Local Government Retirement and Benefit Acts Annual Report for 2023. Item F, authorization for demolition of 19337 Melrose Avenue. Item G, additional leaking underground storage tank remediation. And item H, contract renewal for the City Administrator, Frederick E. Zorn. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
All right, next move into agenda items for discussion and/or action, and Mr. Crode.
Good evening. For discussion only tonight, we have a potential rezoning request, PZR 23-0003, a special use request, PSLU 23-0018, and a site plan request for PSP 23-0018. The petitioner is EDG. The address is 24960 Telegraph Road. This is an existing gas station located at West 10 Mile and Telegraph Road. Existing zoning is I-1 industrial. The gas station was established before the city even was incorporated, so it's an existing non-conforming use. So by rezoning it, we can make that conforming. Proposed is B3, which would make it a conforming use, and the special land use would allow for a proposed gas station, convenience store with liquor sales, and a carry-out restaurant with an addition to the building. As we start to review these proposed liquor license and gas stations with carry-out, we are going to provide a map of any other similar types of uses within 1,000 feet or other radiuses. This is existing site, existing photos of the site. In particular, they're proposing a small addition on the north side of the building, or the 10-mile frontage. Currently, there are 2 parking spaces and some green space, so they do have room to expand. And if you notice, I wanted to point out this little goat path So there are a number of pedestrians that are using this cut-through to purchase, and that's part of why we require the pedestrian connection. So the pedestrian connection will be part of the site plan approval, so it's a fully accessible connection to the public walk. Again, current zoning is I-1 industrial, proposed is B3. That is consistent with our future land use plan. We're also going to start listing a summary of uses, both permitted and special land use in the existing zoning as well as in the requested zoning. And gasoline stations are special land use in the proposed B3 business district. Again, the existing site plan, you can see the proposed addition to the north end of the building. This is an interior floor plan which shows the amount of space that will be dedicated to liquor sales. It also shows the proposed addition that will include storage, a small office, and then a small and carry-out. And you can see here from the interior renderings that they're going to have food to go and then cold storage with an office space. Proposed elevations that blend in with the existing architecture, and then existing conditions. So with that, we have the petitioner here tonight. They'll talk a little bit about their family business. They've been here for quite some time, what they'd like to do, and then between the two of us, we'll be happy to answer any questions that council may have. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves again and just talk about what your plans are, and thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year to everybody.
If you could mention your, name and address too.
My name is Issam Jawad, 24960 Telegraph Road. I purchased this property 22 years ago. It was an old gas station. I rebuilt it brand new, and up to this day, I keep maintaining the business. At the time, my taxes was like $6,000. Right now, with this is about $26,000 total taxes. And the industry has been changing a lot, so I would like to continue to stay in this business, to keep maintain the property, to have a value for my property, and actually with this industry, with this electric car and most a property that will be coming up with another city, if it's just the gas station by itself, it will not survive. So I'm asking you guys to approve to do additional plus to maintain to be in this business.
Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Jawad. Same address, 24960 Telegraph Road. Issam is my father. I was born and raised in the city of Southfield. I went to Buzzy Center on Evergreen. I went to St. Michael, or the old St. Michael's on Lasser. I'm a product of Southfield. I went to OCC in the Southfield campus, graduated from Wayne State. We've ran the gas station as a family business, you know. I can remember when I was yay tall, doing work there and, you know, just doing what I gotta do to, you know, make Dad happy, really, right? We're here, you know, thankfully and appreciatively in front of you guys to help our business succeed with the industry and the way that it's going, to help us pivot into being more competitive with the other people in the area. It's been very competitive as far as gas sales inside the store, and for us to have the capability to compete with everybody else will help us and help us survive in the city. We've been here, as my father said, we've been here for a very long time. We've lived in the city of Southfield, and we want to continue to stay here. Southfield is our city, and we love the city of Southfield.
If I could, through the chair, before there's questions, can you just talk a little bit about your takeout restaurant, that it's not going to be a national chain?
Correct.
If you could just clarify that for the council.
With the addition, it's only about 800 or 900 square feet precisely. It helps the flow of the business, and then by getting that extra space, it helps us carve out some extra area for a carry-out kind of to-go convenience food type of space where people can come in. You know, they buy their groceries, their convenience stuffs, a little bit of liquor liquor, whatever else they're getting. And if they have some comfort food or whatever foods that they would like, they can grab that on the way out as well. It's not dine-in. It's very simple. It's it's very easy type foods, fried foods or baked foods, sandwiches, delis, just something that's very simple to help help the business along. But it's all, prepackaged, and it's not something where people are going to be sitting there for, 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to order something and spend time there.
Councilman Cruz, you have a question?
Yeah. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
It's good to see you, and now I've heard more about it. I'm feeling a little more comfortable. Can you tell me, between you guys or our planner, how many gas stations and how many liquor stores are in that vicinity? I said, how many gas stations and how many liquor stores are in that vicinity?
There's, we had a map here. There's Treasure Island Liquor and Beer and Wine is to the east, and there's another gas station, Kitty Corner, across the street. That's the only other similar type of businesses within 1,000 feet.
Okay. And that's what our zoning is set up for, 1,000 feet?
No, we don't have any specific separations between liquor store sales.
Oh. Now that changes my mind a little bit.
The state.
I'm just trying to make sure we have room for everybody to do what they want to do. You all have been great stewards to the city. I know that. Okay, so it's nothing about you personally or trying to even reinvent what's going on at that location. But of course, if we approve one, every gas station in town gonna want one. And so I guess that's maybe my question again to you, Terry. Like, how are we managing this?
So each gas station that wants to do liquor sales, there are a number of items that they have to comply with. And each station has to come before council, special land use, public hearing, hours of operation, all that. This is not a license for alcohol consumption on site. So this is no different than a grocery store selling beer, liquor, and wine, or 7-Eleven. That's the type of license, and the state does not require any separation for those types of businesses. Now, certainly, because it's a special land use, on a case-by-case basis, we can look at if there's a proliferation of liquor stores or if there's other unintended consequences. You can judge each request on its own merit and determine whether or not it may cause, some harm. But in this particular case, there's been some outreach to the adjacent liquor store. And we talked about that the items that they're selling are more convenience items. Their hours of operation are generally a little bit later and different than those of a liquor store. Liquor store is a higher end. They have more quantities of different things and they know their business. This is more grab a 6-pack of domestic beer on your way home or whatever. And the council, as you recall, did approve a sale of liquor, beer, and wine through the special land use process. Also, as I pointed out, as we go through this process, we're making sure that the site is in compliance with today's standards. So as I pointed out, the goat path, where people don't have an accessible walk, we're making sure there's a bike rack, we're making sure there's pedestrian connections, we're making sure landscaping's in place and other things. This gives us, especially these gas stations that have existed for 60, 70 years, an opportunity to clean it up to make sure it's in compliance with today's standards.
I think that was about all I needed. I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I just want to make sure that in terms of competition, we weren't loading up liquor everywhere, everywhere we went. But that seems like that's a good amount of space. We know that these gentlemen have been good stewards, as I said, of the city of Southfield, and I wouldn't want to block that. So, you know, I think that was just what I needed to understand. And so it's all good with me, you know, whenever we get that, we got a public hearing coming
On the 29th, yeah.
on 29th. All right.
One last comment I'll just make is, I do see within the next 20 or 30 years, gas stations being phased out, and these will be what was considered a neighborhood retail convenience store. We're getting information from a number of the gas stations that their profit margin is greater with the sales of the convenience store than they are on gas, because gas profit's very slow, and as we convert to electric vehicles, there's still about a 20 to 30 year diesel car inventory, but as we continue to mandate more electric vehicles, we'll start seeing fewer and fewer of these gas stations, and my prediction is that ultimately those pumps will go, the canopy will come down, and these will be a neighborhood corner store.
This last month, I did have what I did a couple of years ago in gallon. Have amount of gallon I did last month, then a couple of years ago.
So your volume of gas sales was half of what it was 2 years ago, is what he's saying, right?
Went down.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's coming to that.
Yeah. All right, Councilwoman Hoag?
Just quickly, I promise. Because Councilman Cruz said most of what I said is, you've been great supporters for the city as long as I've been here. Your business, people love going there because I'm glad you mentioned that little walkway that they created in the grass. And I think this helps with that parking problem that exists with Treasure Island. You know, obviously, there's a demand, and we wouldn't want to stop that for you, but you've been great partners to the city, great location there, your employees are great. And it might be been your son, though, now that I'm looking at him.
Yeah, that's my son, he's a doctor
That
too.
was there, yeah, oh, well, that wasn't him.
I used to be there, though.
Yeah,
I'm still
great
there every
employees,
once in a while.
but I think that, you know, like even where at 12 and Telegraph, they're doing great things there, and so I think it improves that corner, that area, and it's gonna be more safer there, I believe, so I'm in support as well.
I just
And
want you
think-
to know, we are very safe in there, and we're there 22 years, and thanks God, we don't even have no one problem, you know.
Yes, so thank you.
And everybody love us, you know. Matter of fact, I had a customer today, him and his wife, I asked the guy, how come I don't see you here? He said, you know what, I shop in Farmington. I say, your wife, she's here almost every day. She said, I shop over there, I do my shopping, I put my gas over there, I buy my novelty, and I buy my liquor there, you know. I don't have to come here.
So I was gonna say is that they bypassed that liquor store to come and get some of the same things from your stations.
To piggyback off of what you're saying,
Yes.
that path was created because people are parking in our parking lot and then walking over, getting what they need, and then walking back. So it's actually more of a distraction a lot of times because
I
like,
agree.
there's
There's
cars parked there
a
for
lot
20,
of
30 minutes.
apartment down the street from us. They come walking. We are
Oh, yeah.
customer, they come to us, you know.
So, well,
But yeah, thank you, I
good luck
appreciate your
to
kind
you,
words.
yes.
All right, Councilman Brightwell?
I think, well, one, you're being very, very proactive. Your industry is changing, and you're changing with the industry. And what I see and what I've heard and seen is not being harmful to the city of Southfield. This is just, you're moving for the viability of what you have there. And, you know, obviously, my business background, anything you're doing to make sure your business is viable, you're not being harmful to the environment, you're not harmful to, you know, competitors, other than the fact you're just, your industry is changing. And this is for you to stay viable and to do what you've been doing for the last 26 years and continue to pay taxes. So, you know, I come at things from an economic standpoint and also from a business standpoint. So I'm supportive of this, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Haynes?
I just wanted to say that you're right in my neighborhood. And one of the things I talked about before I became a council member was the convenience. That's the biggest thing in the neighborhood, is convenience. People want somewhere they can have a walkable community to go to stores in their community without driving far away for just small things. The timing that you're open is great because sometimes the larger stores are closed early, depending on the holidays or whatever it is, and it's just important. Coming from living in a larger city, growing up, we always were able to walk to where we needed to go, and that's such a great thing that you can have some of the things that the community needs, the residents need, and having to drive so far to go all the time. So that's a great addition, and I like where you are located there because it's accessible to everybody in that neighborhood. And I see a lot of people do come through there, so thank you for that.
Thank you for your words.
Do you already have a liquor license, or are you in the middle of trying to obtain one?
I already purchased a liquor license, and the state came in, they measure everything, and they approve it for me. And matter of fact, I have a beer and wine license 3 years ago. It's in the escrow. When the state of Michigan approved to have on the gas station beer and wine and liquor, I applied for beer at that time, and they give it to me. And right now I have liquor license and beer and wine license waiting for you to approve it for me.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Okay.
If I could, this has been scheduled for the 29th for public hearing, and they do need special land use approval prior to them going to the clerk to get their final approval. So this, you'll see this back in 2 weeks, or whenever
3
that,
weeks.
whenever that is, 3 weeks, yeah.
29.
3 weeks,
Yeah.
yep. So we will see you back in 3 weeks for a public hearing, and
Definitely will be here.
there's one more question, hold on.
I'm sorry, I know everyone's trying to hurry this up. Just for clarification, you have to have a beer and wine license and a liquor license? Two
Correct.
licenses?
Yes.
Why did I think that for gas stations, like the liquor license encompassed beer and wine?
Well, the ordinance allows for beer, wine, and liquor, but the state sells either a beer and wine and then an additional liquor, because not everybody sells hard liquor, so.
I thought it was something different for gas stations.
So it's, again, it's two different types of licenses that are regulated under their, I forget what the class is, but for,
SDM and SDD.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm familiar with both of those. I just thought it was, I guess, one for the gas stations, but thank you. Learned something new tonight.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 3 weeks.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for your night, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Have a good one.
Have a good evening.
All right, next is our approval of agreement for 9 Mile Road improvement from Losser to Evergreen and a tap pathway. This is a joint presentation.
I'll be here for questions.
Yeah, primarily me, but it's kind of a two-part project here that the MDOT has presented us with the contract documents for. So this is for the rehabilitation of 9 Mile Road between Losser and Evergreen, as well as the addition of a 10-foot asphalt pathway. The road project includes a road diet or narrowing of the roadway, which we've done on several other of our major roads in Southfield in recent years. It really still keeps the traffic moving because the geometrics stay the same at the major intersections, but in between, that 4-lane road is going to become a 3-lane road with that continuous center left turn lane. The road fix also includes milling off that existing asphalt surface. There's concrete underneath, so any concrete repairs that need to be made are made, and then it gets 3.5 inches of brand-new asphalt. To accommodate that road diet, especially in cooperation with the sidewalk grant, when we had first submitted that, we are pulling the south curb line north, and that allows for that sidewalk to go on the south side of 9 Mile there without impacts to trees. Originally, when that pathway was being proposed, we were thinking we were going to need tree removals, and we like our trees in Southfield, so it helps with the character of the roadway, and so now we're able to keep those trees, which is a really nice thing. The pathway
will start at Prescott Street on the east side. That ties into a pathway that was completed in the fall of 2022. That will continue on the south side of 9 Mile to Lasser, and once it crosses Lasser, it will move to the north side of 9 Mile Road, and then tie that existing, there's an existing concrete, just 5-foot concrete sidewalk in this segment west of Lasser. We're going to be removing that sidewalk and installing this 10-foot pathway to tie in with the pathway we have at Plum Hollow Street. So Terry has up on the screens, this is another segment in this bigger regional 9 Mile corridor plan, which spans, this is showing you what's in Southfield, but that corridor plan is across multiple communities and spans from I-275 to I-75. So this is another nice piece that will be filling in some gap here for that project. I did want to mention that during the construction, only one lane of traffic will be open to allow us for room to work on the opposite side. So depending on which side of the road we're working on, there will be one-way eastbound when we're working on the westbound side, and then when we flip to the eastbound side, it'll be in the opposite direction. So lots of signage to warn people about what's coming up. There will be some posted detour routes so people can still get around to where they need to go. Some of the side street approaches will be closing if there's an easy alternate point of access, just to minimize the amount of traffic that's on the major roadway in the construction zone. We expect to be started no later than May this spring and be completed this November. Fiscally, this project really is made possible by competitively securing surface transportation funds for the road portion of the project and transportation alternative program funds for the pathway portion. Those are both federal programs that Southfield submitted applications for. That comes out to be $2.6 million in federal monies to make this project move forward. Overall, our project is approximately $4 million worth of an investment. That's including construction and the engineering costs. So I'm here tonight asking for council to adopt the attached recommended resolution, which will authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the city and provides funding in the amount of $1.2 million from the Road Bond Construction Fund and $268,373 from our Metro Act funds.
All right, Councilwoman Hoag.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. Remember last year where I was telling you there was so much backup on 9 Mile, and that was because of 8 Mile. Do we know if they're doing anything on 8 Mile that could, because it was horrible, just coming here to council meetings, and I share with you, it was backed up.
Yeah.
So do we know if anything is going on 8 Mile?
So
during this
8
time?
Mile, it's going to be a little rough in Southfield in 2024, actually, because that the county drain office, the Water Resources Commissioner's office, they're called now, their project is still going to be continuing down on 8 Mile Road next season. MDOT is going to be working on the interchange at 8 Mile and Telegraph, so there's going to be limited movements there of getting people to and from 8 Mile and on and off a Telegraph there.
Allegedly on that, because that's been going on.
So, yeah, our posted detour is going to be to use 10 Mile Road just to keep us away from the 8 Mile portion. We do communicate with the other agencies, but when these federal funding opportunities come up, they need to be spent in a specific fiscal year, and sometimes we get a little bit stuck.
And then my other quick question is, that new dance center right there, will they be done with their work? Because they're doing a lot right now.
Yeah, I heard they just got started. So they don't have a whole lot of site work. It's really just like building construction work. It was the gymnastics center there that's on 9
This
Mile.
like a modular kind of building, so they're just gonna bring something and place it there.
Right, and
So it should be, they
right.
probably will be done by May.
Yeah, and we certainly have had to coordinate with private developments that are going on, and we are, there's a lot of residents that live on 9 Mile, and there are businesses, so of course we always have to have access to all the properties there. So we'll get them in and out, and I imagine they'll probably We'll probably be overlapping a little bit, so I would think that hopefully they would be done if they're on schedule by maybe late spring.
And
So
hopefully
probably be
we'll also
overlapping.
do some communications with those businesses around there, because Lord knows.
Yeah, we did have one public meeting already. We
Okay.
had to for the road diet portion
Okay.
of the project. And then we will do a direct mailer to all the properties along the corridor before any of the construction starts. And so people have the right contact information during construction. I have added a new statement. I just neglected to mention it out loud, but per council's request, I am going to start including these statements on our capital projects, that in this particular project, there are 60 parcels adjacent to this project, resulting in an investment of approximately $68,000 per parcel. When you break it down that way, these projects are very expensive, these capital projects, so it just shows the level of investment we're making here in the city.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilman Hicks?
Good evening.
Hello.
I have a couple of questions and an ask, new guy ask. The first question is, because of the timing of the construction, have you all notified the school district, because those are major bus routes going to some of the larger schools in the district? So if you're going through November, return to school and those routes could be, probably will be impacted. So I'm not sure
Right.
if that's part of your process.
It is part of our process. At our pre-construction meetings we have with the contractor right at the start, we always initiate that communication with the schools and keep them up to date. So we have the appropriate contact with the schools. They're on our regular email distribution. That doesn't even go out to everyone, but just to even the project team whenever there's going to be changes. And they also get copies of the progress meeting minutes, things like that. So keep them in the loop.
There's a line in the narrative of the written report that reads, the city's construction cost share is $653,000, plus 25% contingencies and construction engineering. When I looked at the chart, I kind of figured out where the 653 came from. That was the difference between the STP and the TAP federal funds and the total project amount. So I get that, but it would be helpful if that were listed, broken out, not just added into the total share, or Southfield share?
The
On
the total project cost, just add it
Yeah.
to the overall, that
Just
mini
a
spreadsheet.
breakout. Because the question that I had was, the other question I had was related to the 25% contingencies. Is that normal practice to just add that into the overall project total?
So we do add that in for the council authorization, so that as the construction proceeds, we don't have to come back before council every time there's a minor cost adjustment. In this project case in particular, so the council item was already prepared. MDOT did have their bid opening on Friday, so the bids did come in 7.5% high. So that 25%, in the way we break it down, is to think 10% contingencies and 15% of construction engineering. So that's really our inspection and testing. So a lot of our 10% is going to be eaten up right away by the actual bid prices. I don't have the full breakdown yet from the state to see how much of that, if it will be relatively equal between the road and pathway, or if it's going to be a little different. But I'm hoping with our 10% contingencies, we're covered either way.
You kind of explained part of my question, because I want to understand the difference between actual contingency versus what is meant by construction engineering in that portion. Because my concern was, if we didn't exhaust all of the TAP and STP funds, is that part of that 25%? I just want to make sure we're leveraging all of the dollars from STP and TAP. And then if there is money left over from contingency, it just comes out of money that we're not obligated to pay. Does that make sense?
Well, with our federal funding, like with the STP funds for the road, for this particular project, they are not capped. So it's a % share. So if that cost increase goes up for the road portion, our federal dollars will actually go up also.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, but with the TAP pathway, those are capped. So anything over on the pathway is the responsibility of the city. I guess I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Well, no, you kind of are. So I guess my question would be is, for the money, the dollars you have listed for SDP and TAP, is that a cap, or does it fluctuate so that if we spend less, our cost is less, the federal cost share is less?
Right.
And if it goes up, both of us pay more? Is it that way?
For the road, it is, because the road is a straight percentage. For the pathway, that's the federal dollars that are capped for path.
Okay. I guess it was education for me.
Mr. Crowe?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in on the pathway. Council had allocated $600,000 to build the pathway on our own. So we're saving $325,000 by getting this grant. So that money is still available. Let's hope there's not too many cost overruns, because we're hoping to leverage that additional dollars to another portion of the pathway that we have a TAP grant in that we hope to find out in the next 6 weeks. So we might be able to build 1.5 miles for what we were only going to be able to build out of our own pocket, 0.5 mile. So there, at least on the TAP portion, there's additional funding that's already been set aside to cover cost overruns.
Thank you both.
Okay. Nancy, you had a question?
Mr. President?
Well, I just wanted to thank Lee for adding in the statement about the per parcel cost. You know, I think it's good to know how much that is, especially when you get into the neighborhood projects.
Absolutely.
When you go to your neighbor and say, you know, we're making a $100,000 improvement in front of your house, I think it will help. So I do appreciate that.
Sure.
All right, Councilman Cruz?
Yes, Mr. President, and Council, I'd like to move approval of the agreement for the 9 Mile Road improvement from Lasser
Support.
to Evergreen.
Support.
All right. It has been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Hicks, to approve the agreement for the 9 Mile Road improvement from Lasser to Evergreen in the TAP pathway as presented here tonight. Any other questions? Councilman Brightwell, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a minor question. I really like this project, and I think it's, a beautification effort. The West 9 Mile was done a few years ago, and this is East 9 Mile. I'm assuming the West was more complicated because of the bridge in that period of time. Give me the time difference. I'm kind of trying to figure how long it took to do that one, how long it's going to take to do this one.
Right. That segment to the west took much longer because of the bridge work. And as you might recall, when that project was happening, it ended up spanning 2017 and then into 2018, if my memory is correct. Those were our 2 construction seasons.
Right.
But the construction industry, there were huge strikes, I guess, within the construction industry, so it put brakes on our jobs for a long time. Okay. So that project to the west, that was a longer duration, much longer than this one, and the project to the west, because of the bridge work, the road was totally closed. So that's a much bigger inconvenience for the commuting traffic.
Okay, yeah, and you do bring in mind that they did have a lot of construction strikes statewide, really. And so, the other question I have with respect to durability is the 3.5 inches of new asphalt. Is that standard, and what is the life of that?
So when we do these asphalt or road rehab projects, we think of a 20-year life. Basically, if you did nothing, that road will last 20 years. What we do to extend the life of that pavement is make sure just 3 to 5 years out that we're doing some joint sealing. So some joints, because it's an overlay, they will appear within a few years. So we want to make sure that we're getting on top of sealing the joints. And then in the future, as long as we've got that good base underneath, even if we had to come in and do a simple 1.5 million overlay, those are inexpensive. And hopefully we can keep this asphalt surface in place for the next 40 years.
Did you say 40?
40, with some treatments, some
Okay.
minor investments.
Okay. All right, that's my question.
All right, so we have a motion on the table from Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Hicks for this item. Any other questions for discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we're up to the council portion of the meeting, and we'll start with Councilwoman Hogue.
Nothing but just go blue. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Councilman Hicks.
Just real quick, also, go blue. January is the month where 5 of the 9 Black Greek letter organizations celebrate Founders Day. 3 members of this council are members of those organizations, and they do a lot in our community. They're founded as service to communities, part of their objectives. So I would like to congratulate Kappa Alpha Psi, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Delta Sigma Theta, Zeta Phi Beta, and Phi Beta Sigma on celebrating over 100 years of service to community.
Thank you.
You didn't mention.
Thank you, sir.
You said Delta.
I said, you're the second one I said.
He did.
Rewind the tape.
She's just trying to get to the football game. All right, Councilwoman Banks.
Well, if it makes everyone feel better, I was just told Michigan just scored a touchdown, so.
Yeah, I'm taping.
Also, earlier this evening, under communications, Mr. Myron Thomas, I believe that was his name, spoke regarding concerns with code enforcement and rebuilding a building. I had a difficult time understanding what he was saying. Can council get a full report as to what is he talking about? And I'm hoping that our building department can talk to him to resolve any issues, or maybe this is a lot deeper than what I'm understanding.
I think it already was a court order. That's what it sounded like.
Yes, we have the address on South Street with code and building.
Well,
Remind council that our building code is state code, adopted as state code. I'm sorry. I'll remind council that our building code in Southfield is pursuant to state code, and that was last updated in 2015. And it's one of those that sometimes we're along for the ride. What's interesting is a lot of these codes haven't kept up with sustainability and green standards. And there's a lot of push going on in the industry. But I'll get a report from the building and code department.
I would appreciate it, so I can at least try to understand what he was saying. Thank you, and also wishing everyone a happy and healthy New Year. Thank you.
Councilman Cruz?
Yep, thank you, and I'll start off with the Happy New Year. At first, I'll also like to thank Councilman Hicks for his, making notice of the fact that the African American fraternities and sororities have Founders Day this year. I think he and I are both brothers, and Ms. Coretta is also as well, or should I say Councilwoman Hogue is as well. I don't know if I got anybody else. I don't want to miss nobody, but we take very much pride in that, and as was already stated, these are organizations that are here to do the work that needs to be done in our communities and so forth. So it was it's a very important month for us, of course. We got Martin Luther King Day coming up. Today, Oakland Community College, we had Dr. Bernice King as our keynote speaker, who is the youngest daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King. And you can still go on our website and see that if you would like to hear her presentation. It was kind of like more of a conversation than like just a lecture, and it was really good. So that's what ran me late a little bit today, but nonetheless, those things are good. Yeah, go blue. Looks like we're still 7-0. Wait, hey, Councilman Hicks, Trust me, I don't even like Michigan. And I'm gonna tell you why, real quick. I applied there when I came out of high school, and they told me no. So I said, I'm done with Michigan. But nonetheless, I still got where I needed to be, and they're where they need to be, so it's all good. Again, I just want to reiterate that if you have any legislative concerns, they can come to myself, Councilwoman Hogue or Haynes. We are all here to serve you in that committee and so forth. So I know there are a lot of things people say, well, why do we do it this way? Why do we do it that way? Well, you know, we want to hear that. Am I right, my friends? And we want to do something about it. So, so just know that our doors are open, email, phone calls, all those things. We'll see. We're going to start setting our meetings up this week. And well, it's already almost was early in the week. But nonetheless, we're going to set some meetings up and have a consistent schedule so that people that would like to attend, you most certainly can. And you know, I want to congratulate Mr. Zorn as well. What did we end up calling? It's not a reappointment, it's a
Contract renewal.
Contract renewal. It's well deserved, Mr. Zorn. Let me just say that to you, well deserved. And you know, it keeps this city, people don't understand how much this man does on a daily basis unless you're here with him. So I just wanted to give him a shout out in that regard. And other than that, I think that's it. I'll quit talking so everybody can go home.
Councilwoman Haynes?
Well, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone as well, and congratulations to you also, Mr. Zorn. We've had some nice conversation over the times, and I'm looking forward to having many, many more. And I was quickly speaking earlier, and I didn't get a chance to personally thank some of my family members that couldn't be here. And I want to especially give a shout out to my aunt, who is Lieutenant Colonel Shirley Wallace Brown. She has been the mother that I did not have. My mother passed when I was 15 years old, and my aunt has been the mother, the leader, the person in my life that has been a stronghold for me. I appreciate all that she has done for me throughout my campaign. She lost a lot of her brothers and sisters, and she was still able to talk to me and encourage me to keep going. And I think that's so important when you have people in your life that can step in and support you. And I just want to let her know that I love her, and I know she's watching, and I appreciate all that she's done for me. And also Uncle Frank. They're both military people, and they've served in the military and done very well in their service. And thank you to both of them. And go Lions.
Ah, there you go. That's right.
Councilman Brightwell?
Well, I want to thank everybody. I appreciate the comments, and obviously I want to welcome aboard our new council person, Ms. Haynes. And also this year we had Mr. Hicks and Ms. Coretta. So we are fully staffed, and I welcome all of them on board. And I think I'm really appreciative of. There are some good people and smart people, and I've been around smart. Let me just be frank. I've been around smart people all my life, and you guys are. I appreciate your intelligence and the way you've gotten into the business of the council. And obviously, it gets more simple and/or complicated as we go along. But as I always say with my vets. And it's always music to my ears. I've been doing this since I've been on council, and I did it before I got on council. I would make announcements for veterans and let individuals know that although you might not be a veteran, you could share that info. And you'd be surprised at the number of people just come up to me and say, I shared this with so-and-so. And just last month when they were giving away free money, obviously I got a lot of comments about that. Washtenaw County giving veterans donations without income justification. But Other than that, I promised a couple council members that I would be very succinct, but other council people stepped up and took my place with respect to, I did program my DVR before I left home. And so.
That's why you're still talking.
So we will be, either I'll watch it tonight or tomorrow. So, but it will be a good year this year, and I can feel it. Thank you.
All right. I too just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. And I'm looking forward to great things that our council will do with the support of the city staff in this coming year. I know we have a lot on our agenda, and we will get it done. Also, tomorrow is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So I want to thank our law enforcement officers in Southfield for your service and commitment to our communities, and especially our officer in the back, who I'm sure also wants to go watch the game. Thank you for being here. We always appreciate the extra support. And go Blue. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
I don't want to make the meeting any longer, as there's something exciting going on. But I do want to welcome our newest council member, someone I've known for 20-some years, and we're glad to have you. And we are in a new year, so good tidings to everyone, and looking forward to continued progress in the city of Southfield. And hope to see you all on Monday for the Martin Luther King Peace Walking program.
Thank you. City Administrator?
Thank you. I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year on behalf of the administration. I'd like to welcome, and we look forward to working with our newest council member. Want to thank council, just recognize Deputy Administrator McRena for the work he's done on 8 Mile. I don't think it was said, but it was in the write-up. We've received over $65,000 in grants and another $55,000 to pay for that cleanup. Many of you were involved in the hours we spent in Northland dealing with these environmental situations. We can't always see a lot of these things, but I think we've done a really good job. We started working on that property 3 years ago to sell it, an orphaned piece of property the city picked up. We had to maintain. Our Parks and Rec department was going out there during a snowstorm and clearing something. It was the only piece of property that functioned like a municipal lot. So we're finally coming to see the light that we'll be able to consummate the sale of that property and move it forward. So I wanted to just thank John for that. Earlier this morning, I spent a couple hours over at the Northland site, was able to drive the new roads in that. It is really coming together, and I think we know Costco's going to be open on January 25th at 7 a.m. But just seeing some of that interior road structure come in, and for some of you who were in the meeting six years ago, or 2016, when we came in on a Saturday and decided to buy that property, and we were wrestling with that decision, and the hours that, I think 3 of you have been chaired that committee and sat in, you were starting to see some of those fruits pay off, and it's pretty exciting, and there's a few more surprises that I think we're going to be pleasantly pleased with. I want to thank you for the support on the renewal of my contract. I came here in 2008, and that was a rough year in the economy, but I knew then I landed one of the best municipal jobs that year, and I still feel that way today. This is a phenomenal place. There are so many different types of things to do here. Our land uses, the diversity in our people, the education attainment, the values and the trust, the diversity in our religious groups. This is a city unlike any other city, and we have a tremendous place beyond our location. I think we've got a great product to tell the world about, and something to be very proud myself, and I know the majority of all of my management team feel the same way. We recently had one of our quarterly management meetings. At the end of every meeting, I've asked people to go around and tell what's happening in their department. And every department, with the pride that my managers and directors have to tell, is just it's moving. And I think sometimes we take the day-to-day for granted, but we're truly have a lot happening. My closing remarks, I'm going to circulate the last time our legislative folks asked us for our wish list. Our original wish list had over 70 million on it. I'm going to recirculate that and ask if there are new things. They, tell us to go big, and maybe we'll have to temper our dreams, but we at least got to put our list together. So thank you. Look forward to 2024.
Mr. President, may I ask Mr. Zorn a question? So what's the fiscal year for the state? I'm sorry. Is that the summer?
I'm sorry, the what?
The fiscal year for the state.
I'm sorry.
When is the state's fiscal year?
Oh, the state is on an October 1.
October 1st,
So,
right.
yes, they would start October 1, but their budget process is starting, and
Okay.
I
just wanted to make sure we were kind of in advance, so we can make sure we can put that list in front of them, see what we can.
We've got, 2 road projects out of it last year. We know we've got, there's clear aquatics, indoor aquatics facilities, a high priority, and we'll look for those. I think it's maybe time to ask our folks at the legislature, back in the late 80s, we had a quality of life bond that funded a lot of projects across the state. And I think maybe it's time for the state to look at that, in particular in response to our goals as to how we grow this state. And then if you look at that report, and that was one of the major themes within that management meeting, I've asked all my managers and directors, how do we fit into the goal of how do we grow this state? We're seeing a lot happening. We know we're going to have a shortage estimated just under 200,000 housing units. So how are we growing our housing stock? How are we growing employment opportunities, education opportunities? We know the basic elements: public safety, police, fire, critical. Recreational libraries, library, those are critical components. And things you approved tonight, our Career Center. When we relocated the Career Center over into next to the accelerator, there were 9 centers in Oakland County. You're down to 6. And some of you will recall that was our goal. We know as unemployment comes down, we still have to help people get additional training and certificates, but we're down to 6, and the top performer in the county. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
More than you probably wanted to hear.
All right,
Go Blue.
Madam Attorney?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Mr. Zorn. Happy New Year to everyone. Just welcome to all the new council members. Please feel free to call me if you have any questions or concerns about anything. I should have some pretty good information for you during the month of February, including updates on any pending litigation, and then the government law section is going to have their annual winter conference that I'll be attending. They'll be covering a lot of changes, hopefully in the Open Meetings Act, election, FOIA, a lot of things that I hope to provide to you all in February. So thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk?
And Happy New Year to all of the people who are watching or in the audience, and to the council members. I just want to say Happy New Year and happy election season. It's begun. It's come upon us, and we have been sending out permanent ballot designation forms to our voters, so because it's a presidential year, and our voters have to designate what party they're going to be voting in the primaries. And also, anybody that you know that's 17 and a half and older can register and should register as soon as possible, anytime they go to the Secretary of State to handle any driver's license or ID purposes. They'll have an opportunity to register, or they can come here up to the day of the elections to register, because we want to make sure that our young people are engaged and know these deadlines and avail themselves to cast their ballots. I just want to let you know that our residents are very, very interested in this election, and we've been getting a lot of calls and a lot of visits, because I think people kind of forget about primary voting and having to designate a party during presidential years only, because, 4 years go by. So I just want to say again, go green, go, oh no, I'm sorry. That was on purpose, you guys, okay, because I am a Sparty at heart, but I am pulling for the Michigan Wolverines tonight. So thank you all, and I'm looking forward to a great 2024.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing nothing else to come before our council, our meeting is adjourned.